Okay.
So let's have you guys scoot this in a little bit this way.
Scoot my way?
Yes.
That just kind of being in the similar era.
I'm Doug Neal, and this is my wife, Carrie Neal. You have to speak up, Carrie.
If you get stuck, that's totally fine because that's what we're here for.
Okay.
To ask you a question and you just pick right back up.
Hey guys, my name's Adam and this is Stephanie, my beautiful wife, and I just want to share with you how the gospel's changed my life.
I'm Doug Neal.
And I'm Carrie Neal.
I'm Mallory, and I'm here to share the good news and how the Lord has worked in my life.
I've known him my whole life, per se, you know. I went to church. I never had the intimacy with him. I did the check the boxes, you know, but I also lived in the world because the flesh was still alive in me. And when I had a realization that he wanted to spend time with me every day, that he just formed me to love me, that I didn't have to do cartwheels and backflips to get his approval. And when I started understanding that process, that's where the healing started to begin inside of me. We came from broken marriages before, and the fear of our previous marriages led into our marriage. And just two broken people trying to heal each other is not going to work. So we ended up getting a divorce.
And really, it was probably about not being surrendered to him.
Yeah.
I grew up in a Baptist church in Lubbock, Texas. But as I grew up, I grew away from God. Lived in Austin, Texas in the 70s, and I mean, everybody knows what that was like. But in 1978, after a failed marriage, I ended up on Interstate 35 headed from Austin to Dallas because I had reached a dead end in my life and things needed to change. So I ended up thumbing a ride, trying to get a ride. It was about 20 degrees outside and the wind was blowing about 40 miles an hour. And I didn't have a coat. I had long hair and cowboy hat. And every once in a while my hat would blow off and I'd chase it down the road and I'd finally catch it and wriggle it back in, put it back on. And after I had a blanket wrapped around me, but it wasn't enough, I got to the point where I got desperate. I felt like I was going to freeze to death. It was at that time that I dropped to my knees and I asked God to acknowledge me.
Before I came to following Jesus, it was lonely. It was very lonely. I was in 20 years of addiction, of alcoholism primarily, and I was always searching for something. I didn't have the best childhood, and I felt neglected and unheard, and because of that, by the time I was 14, I was in juvenile for the first time, and I was just seeking out, love in all the wrong places and let people abuse me and hurt me because I just wanted to feel something because there just was nothing. And my boys, we came to Hot Springs in 2018, but when we got here, we got started in church, hadn't really been following the Lord in a long time. I was saved as a little girl when I was 7 years old. But when we got to Hot Springs, I knew that we needed to do something different. And so we started at a church. We went there about a year. It was big. We never really felt at home just because it was so big, and I didn't have the time to invest because I was a single mom and I was working. And it was just kind of me and these kids and the Lord here.
I didn't grow up in church. I didn't have a family that I went occasionally with my grandmothers. I had a moral compass. I knew who Jesus was. I desired to know him. I can remember wanting to just read the Bible with my mom, but my family they never talked about God in my family. At a young age, went to a revival and probably fear, like at age 8, and accepted Jesus. And when I was about 18, I realized that I had a need for Jesus to be my Savior. And it wasn't until some broken things in my life, some things that I had to walk through, that I fully surrendered to him. It became authentic to me. And it's been the greatest thing in my life because I no longer have to pretend. I know that he accepts me who I am. I don't have to put on false pretenses with anybody. And he's put a love in me to love other people just a passion so that other people can feel when I fully surrendered to Him, what that looked like. I think for a long time I struggled with my own identity, maybe my insecurities as a child, becoming from the type of home that I was raised in. He has set me free from a lot of things, and He does daily. And that's the most wonderful thing about the good news, is that it's alive and it's real and it's constant and it's ever changing. And just like with our marriage, He redeemed it, and it was because we didn't rely on each other any longer to make each other happy. It was just the love of the Father that we got a hold of.
I said, if you just save me this time, I said, I'll commit my life to you. It wasn't 30 seconds. A highway patrol pulled somebody over on the other side of the highway. And he pulled down the highway and came across the median and pulled up behind me and pulled up next to me and threw the door open and said, son, what are you doing out here? He said, you're gonna freeze to death. I said, I'm just trying to get to Dallas. He said, get in here. They didn't search me or anything. Well, he took me to the next town so that I could get on a bus. And to this day, I believe that was an angel. My life changed from that time on. I moved to Dallas. I lived with my mother for a little while. I started my career that lasted for 27 years. I mean, God just kind of took over and made everything happen. Within 2 years, I met this woman, and she had problems too. You know, she had a little girl, but that was the easy part. I mean, accepting her child was, I mean, it was a given. I mean, what a blessing from God, you know. When we first met each other, the first thing that we did was find a church that we wanted to be a part of. Right from the get-go, we dedicated our marriage to Christ.
A year later, we had got invited to Lakeview by a couple of different people. And up to that point, I was praying and I was talking to the Lord and I was pressing in, I was reading my Bible, but I didn't really have any guidance. Our first day at Lakeview, we walked up, Pastor Matt's out in the parking lot, and he welcomed us and he just loved us, and it was like home before I ever made it through the door. So from there, first year, you know, I'm sitting in the back and I'm like, you know, like this in the back, you know, and then I slowly work my way up, but we just had so much love poured into us. I got on the Full Circle missions team, and there I grew close relationships with multiple people, and that helped me grow in my walk. But then I ended up starting on the prayer team, and I remember coming out for the first time and being so scared, like, what am I even doing here? Like, I knew that I was doing these things at home. Like, God would give me a name, and I would start praying for these people, and I would write it down, but I didn't know what that was. And so I got to come and be on the prayer team here, and they helped me understand what that was. That was intercessory prayer, but I had no idea. But people have just reached out, and they've poured into me, and it has made me who I am today. It has made me where I'm going out with the homeless, or I'm going to work with people in recovery, that because people saw their treasure in me and helped me grow spiritually, now I can do that in them. And so I look at them and I only see the treasure, and they're like, you're the happiest person we've ever known, and they want some of that. And it's because I have so much Holy Spirit in me because of what has been poured into me, and my life is just, it's completely transformed.
My story was I had an abusive childhood. My parents kicked me out when I was 16. Trying to make it on my own, I rented a little trailer, worked at McDonald's, had to walk 5 miles to school because I was determined to get my diploma. I met the father of my child. I thought that he would be the love that I was looking for, and didn't turn out, but I raised her on my own. I finally moved away from Kansas because there was just too much. My parents lived there, but they didn't want anything to do with me, so I made my way to Texas. And then that's when I met this guy. Anyway, some people came knocking at our door, and that's when we invited him in, and we accepted Christ right there in our living room. And then we became full-time at Calvary Temple in Irving.
They were having a a revival. An evangelist named Mario Murillo came. Gave up a lot of things there, and it completely changed our lives. And God's moving like that right now. I mean, I feel God just like I did back then.
Because it is our mission to share Jesus with others and try to be Jesus and reflect Him. We play Christian music in our gym. My father-in-law was saved by a track, and he hands that out to everyone that comes in our gym with the schedule, which is an opportunity to share Jesus. If you come in and cancel your membership, what I love most recently, probably within the last few years, my husband's gonna ask if he can ask a personal question, ask if they know where they're going to spend eternity. And it's beautiful, and it's not condemning, it's loving. And I do boot camps, and so I get to protect that environment by the music that the ladies listen to, because I'm responsible for what they're hearing and the way that environment's going. So it's just another opportunity to love on someone and let them see who they are.
Just a few months later, I started school at National Park College, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I was gonna get some basics, maybe get an associate's degree. Then I ended up graduating there, and then I go to UALR, and I graduate with a bachelor's degree, and I'm like, what now? And then I end up in this advanced program where I did a program that's 2 to 3 years. I did it in 1 year, just by the grace of God. Graduated with a 4.0. I now graduated last May with my master's degree in social work, and I'm a mental health therapist at a recovery center. I'm happy to go to work every day and spread the love of Jesus. It's a faith-based place. I don't, have to hide who I am, and people, they know that I love Jesus before I ever even start speaking, and that's another beautiful work that the Lord's done in me.
My name is Adam.
I'm Doug Neal.
My name is Stephanie.
My name is Carrie Neal.
This is how the good news has changed my life.
This is how the good news has changed my life.
This is how the good news has changed my life.
My name is Mallory, and this is how the good news has changed my life.
This is how the good news and God has changed my life.